Hello and welcome. Thanks again for joining. This is Poultry Science, and today we have an interesting topic. Now, we talked about this in the previous classes. We touched them, we made allusions to them, and that's vaccination. Now, what we have today is when do you vaccinate? First of all, what's vaccination? Vaccination is the process of introducing an attenuated, a weakened form, or live or some other forms, maybe small quantity in small dose of a vaccine of a pathogen, the disease-causing organism, into the body of the chicken, in this case, or the animal. Now the reason is this, so that the body fights the pathogens. Now when it gains victory over it, it keeps the memory of it, so that subsequently, when that pathogen comes, this time as to break down the animal or even kill the animal, the innate or inborn immune system that had previously defeated that pathogen when it was introduced in a small quantity in vaccines can come up and fight and defeat the disease-causing microorganism. And most vaccines are used against viruses. In other words, the viruses are inactivated form in small doses, also weakened form or not alive form are also preserved in the vaccines. They are introduced, and there are different forms in which they are kept, and also routes by which you introduce them into the body, but we're going to look at that later. Now, but let's go stepwise. The first one we have here is, when do you vaccinate? Or perhaps the question may be, why do you vaccinate? Vaccination is done in order to boost the immune system of an organism. When I talk about organism, I'm talking about, or let me be particular now about the chicken, because it's the poultry we're looking at now. We're talking about the animal particularly. So we vaccinate animals in order for them to boost their immune system against the disease-causing pathogens. Now, I've also explained how it works, because there's need for the immune system, innate immune system, natural immune system, to be trained to overcome the disease-causing microorganism. Now, in this case, the next question is, how do you vaccinate? There are different routes by which you vaccinate. Now, one of the routes is intraocular. Ocular means eyes, intraocular. Now, in this case, and mostly for day-old chicks, you take drops of the vaccines and drop into the eyes of the birds. Ocular eyes, you drop into the eyes. And sometimes it may just be spread. It will eventually fall into the eyes, depending. And then intravenous means you use, with the aid of needles, specified needles through the veins. So venous referring to veins. Intra means in or through, into or through the veins. Now subcutaneous means under the skin, under the skin. Cutaneous means the skin. Then intramuscular means inside the muscles, especially in the buttock of the animal. So these are the routes by which you go. So we can say these are the routes by which we vaccinate birds. Now, when not to vaccinate? Now, I talked about this in the previous video. I said that the best time to vaccinate is when the animals are healthy. So that's why there's a need to follow a schedule. And there are specific times you have to do it. It's really time specific. Now, but then, when is it that you don't have to vaccinate? Usually when the animals are sick. A sick animal should not be vaccinated. You should treat a sick animal with drugs. Now, I have also defined drugs, made a difference between a drug and a vaccine. A drug is used to kill pathogens, so that the immune system that has been overpowered can come up again and revive, and the animal is not broken down. But vaccines are used to empower, in quotes, strengthen, boost the immune system of the animal by empowering the innate immune system to grow and to know. So you're not to vaccinate when the animals are down, because at that time the pathogen have killed some of the innate immune system and then brought it down. So it's good that it has to return when the animal is still strong and okay. Now, any external help, yes, external help can come for animals, for chicken, when they are already sick. You use drugs, this time drugs to help kill the pathogens. So some drugs work in different ways. Some lyse the bacteria, lyse them by cutting their cell membrane, and some make them inactive, and in different forms they work. Then following vaccination schedule. Now vaccination schedule differs from region to region depending on what disease is endemic in that place. There are places where you have smallpox endemic, so you follow its vaccination schedule. Now, it's not for me to present this to give a specific vaccination schedule, because the video goes worldwide and different places. You just do your best to ask the vet doctor around you. They know the best vaccination schedule to follow. Do not copy vaccination schedules anyhow, so you don't get into trouble, because your area or your state, your region may have certain vaccination schedule. Now, how to dispose vaccination bottles and items? Now, because these vaccines contains the disease-causing microorganisms in weak, attenuated, or inactive forms, when you dispose the bottles or containers or items you used, it is advisable you throw them in places where they will not come in contact with the air and then get into air and become airborne again. What that means is this. For example, going straight to the point, if I vaccinate my birds and I have to properly dispose the bottles or other items I've used, or maybe a remainder of the vaccine, if it is taken by mouth. I didn't talk about this. They drink vaccines apart from these other routes. They also drink through the mouth by drinking water. I'll have to dispose them by digging the ground and burying and covering properly. You dig the ground and bury properly. Now, if you pour these things anyhow, there's a tendency for these things to become reactivated and then spread. Before you know it, you create a problem for your region, for your environment. That particular pathogen becomes endemic in that area. You just discover at certain times that particular disease comes up, begin to kill animals, specific animals. It could be chicken, it could be goats, it could be pig, killing them. But it's just because someone was careless somewhere in disposing this thing. So in handling these things, you have to be careful. Now that brings us to handling in terms of keeping a cold chain. Vaccines are better kept cold, not frozen. So you have a refrigerator. If you want to buy a vaccine in the local store, it's advisable that you go with your flask, a good flask, and request and insist that they give you ice block in it. So when you buy a vaccine, you put inside your flask, you also put ice block in it. The process also, when you're using the vaccines, you have to be careful. How do you open? Now, let me talk about this. How do you open? To open a bottle of vaccine, especially if you have to dissolve the one that you have to dissolve in water. Now, the Lasota, for example, you open it inside the water. You know the quantity of water, and when you want to give the water, you try to see that the vaccine that is going to be consumed orally, that is oral, sorry, let me put it there, oral, that is going to be consumed orally, is done in such a way that the animals will consume them within 30-45 minutes or maximum 1 hour. So what you do is this: you put small quantity of water in the containers. And then when you want to open the vaccine, like you want to open it like this, you have to dip the vaccine inside the water before you open it, inside the water, so the spores of it don't escape into the atmosphere. So you have to make sure that you do that. Now there's something that came to mind while I was talking about this. If you're opening the lid, you have to be careful in the way you handle it, so you don't end up, for example, you don't open with your mouth, so you don't end up taking some of this thing, because some of these things can also infect man. Now, if you have a question or area where you don't understand, you can please write something, put a question. If you have a correction, if you think, or an observation, please chat me up. I want to thank you for staying tuned. If you have any reason you think you've benefited from this, why not you talk about it to your friends. Tell them, share the video, like, and also subscribe. I'm grateful you stay tuned. Thank you so much. Let's do it again next time. Thank you.